sending it over to Cheryl Casoni.
All right, Robert Gray, thank you very much. Well, it is high noon in the financial capital of the world, New York City. And Fox Business is still working for you as the clock continues to tick down to the largest tax hike in U.S. history. Congress about to leave town until after the elections without taking any action to stop it. Should we just extend all of the Bush tax cuts for one more year? Hi, everybody. I'm Cheryl Casoni. That's the question right now. Joining me for the entire hour, I've got Todd Schoenberger, Managing Director at Land Colt Trading, plus our very own Sandra Smith is with me for the entire hour. And the debate begins right now on extending those Bush tax cuts. We have Erica Payne, founder of the Agenda Project, and Mark Matson, founder and CEO of Matson Money. And Mark, I'm going to start with you because you not only think that we should extend tax cuts for everybody, but you say that whether we like it or not, tax cuts are going up already. What do you mean?
Well, what I mean by is, yeah, they're going up in a lot of different ways. You know, one of the problems with the taxes right now is that I've been talking to estate planning attorneys all morning. I've been talking to income tax attorneys. I've had our best research people working on it here. And this is so confusing. Nobody knows what's going to happen. So if I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a small business person, and I'm trying to grow my company, I'm completely dazed and confused about what's getting ready to happen. Confusion is not a good basis for growing your business and getting people back to work. In addition to that, dividend taxes are going up. They're going to go from regular ordinary income tax, if nothing changes right now, dividends at 15% to ordinary income. That affects everybody. No one's immune from that right now. So if I'm making $100,000, I'm included in that price. So, you know, this idea that 95% of the people are going to save taxes, not necessarily true. Under the new regulations, people that own savings accounts, health savings accounts aren't going to be able to deduct them. There's a lot of changes here. It's confusing. Nobody really knows. We need a moratorium on taxes for everybody. Well, no new taxes this year to get people back to work.
Mark, I'm sorry, but let me, Erica, really quick, I've got breaking news about this debate. I want to bring it into both of you and let our viewers know as well. You were seeing a banner flash on the bottom of your screen right now, folks, but Democrats basically we're just finding out officially are going to punt the tax cuts until after the election. There have been some back and forth. Republicans have been pushing for them to actually take a vote before the election. Democrats officially saying not going to happen. So sorry, Erica, but that does actually affect our debate because this now means it's going to be after the election, so we're not going to get any movement on the Bush tax cuts. Those tax cuts could expire at the end of this year.
Okay, so the election is 6 weeks away. They'll deal with it in the lame duck session. It's like a nonsense argument. And Mark, I cannot tell you how unbelievably sick I am of coming on this show and hearing like, oh, woe is the rich people. I got an email from a guy the other day who spent $45 million on a painting. And he was complaining about how his taxes are going to go up. And you come on this show, and we're talking about schools, we're talking about policemen, we're talking about an infrastructure that we need to rebuild, and you actually come on this show and can say in good conscience that you don't think that everybody should get a tax cut, and you should have that guy get a tax cut. Like, what is that about? You really think a guy who spends $45 million on a 4x4 painting deserves a tax cut? Are you insane?
Erica, I love the way you villainize people that are hardworking Americans.
Oh, right. This guy is just, I mean, he's killing himself. There is nothing harder than going out and picking up a $45 million painting, Mark.
Let Mark respond to you, Erica.
There are over 1.7 million entrepreneurs, hardworking business people that work 60, 70, 80 hours a week that don't make $50 million a year. They make 200. Their wives are teachers, firemen. Maybe they may own a small business and make $150,000 a year. Most people that are going to be affected by this are not the ultra rich. You
Mark,
know, you like to villainize these guys. Norm Frankenstein.
That is
you know,
a
this
lie.
is crazy.
What you just said
Why don't you go after this guy? Why don't you go after George Soros?
Why don't you go after George Soros? Why don't you go after Lloyd Blankfein? I want to raise their taxes because their taxes should be raised.
I need you to
want to
talk
hold
one
that
at a time.
hostage.
I need you to talk one at a time. Erica, the original question was, should we just let the tax cuts be extended for all Americans for just 1 year? Now, the question,
not.
Okay, but the question is, why not do that until the economy gets on better ground, and then we can readdress the issue
I'll tell you exactly why. Because when you give tax cuts to normal people, people who wake up every day and put on blue jeans, maybe they're teachers, maybe they're firemen, when they have a tax cut, they actually spend it. That helps the economy. When you give a tax cut to a guy who spends $45 million on a painting, he actually does not spend it. Therefore, it does not stimulate the economy. Therefore, it is a stupid use of money. And Mark, you know it. as does every single economics professor you've ever had. You come on here. How much do you make a year, Mark? Like, how much are you on this show just to argue on your own behalf?
Erica, let's not make this personal. I think that really just that takes
It's
away from the discussion, Erica, to make this a personal attack on Mark. But Mark has been, as he said, has been speaking to economists, and I want to go back to the issue that you brought up, Mark, which I do find interesting, and we've been talking about it on other parts of the show as well, about cap gains, the dividend taxes as well. That does affect all Americans. We have discussed that. So you're saying that no matter what, taxes go up for all of us this year.
Well, taxes are going to go up, and these so-called tax breaks for the rich. You have a person making $200,000–300,000 a year as an entrepreneur. Well, one of the extension ideas right now is that you're going to go from 35% tax rate. If it expires, it's going to go to 39%. And then there's a new tax law in the regulations for a 3.8% tax for Medicare on top of that. So S corporation owners are going to go, small business people, not these mega rich, are going to go from effectively 35 to 43. That's a 25% increase. And they're going to have to lay off people.
I mean,
Erica,
what you're
please
saying
let me finish.
is not
What's going to happen is they're going
of
to
small
have
businesses
to,
will be affected by this. 2%.
I work with 400, and that's 1.7 million business owners. So you can try to minimize it and try to villainize entrepreneurs that make money. Most of the people that in this country that make that kind of money started out like I did, basically making $12,000 a year and working hard to grow. They're not these mega rich that you're talking about.
Mark,
let's talk about spending the money. Wait a minute. Let's talk about spending the money.
You're
people
not going to come on
rich,
here and keep on lying about what is going to happen when these tax cuts
now that y'all are
expire.
talking over each other again, I want to bring in Todd Schoenberger and I want to bring in Sandra Smith into this. Erica, I'm going to bring in two more voices into this because we're all talking over each other and I can't hear anything anymore. Todd, let me get your voice. Let me get your viewpoint onto this. What do you think? 1 year, that's the question. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, it should be permanent. Actually, it could go further than that. I mean, if the liberals are actually standing on this or using this as a crutch, this is our last gasp to try to say that the administration, the policies coming out of Washington are actually working, which we all know that they are not. So now, why not just go after the wealthy people? Why not paint that picture that all these people with the $45 million paintings and they're all sipping champagne and these are the people that are getting the tax breaks, and we all know that that's not correct.
Erica, so wait, are you saying that those people are not getting a tax cut? Are you actually telling me that the $45 million painting guy that you think that he should have his taxes raised? You don't believe that.
Sotheby's just went out and they hired 20 more people to go out and do all this other stuff, plus the car service.
Yeah, the economy is really going to come back because what Sotheby's is doing. You are not telling the truth.
3/4 of the story here. What does the guy do for a living? 67% of billionaires started out from scratch. They worked their entire lives to get to that point. And you're making the argument against yourself. The fact that he's out there
that has been created in the last 10 years is in the financial sector, which just wrecked the economy.
Erica, the fact that he's complaining about the tax cuts not being extended and he's spending $45 million, what else is he buying? Cars, boats, houses? Does he own a company that he employs people? It's going to affect the way he spends that money. We need him spending that money.
Erica, respond, please.
Let's be really clear. Economists have studied what happens when you give the mega rich tax cuts. They do not spend the money. It is the 11th most stimulative thing that you can do. So if you want to get people back to work, I suggest the Republicans stop holding this tax cut hostage and we extend the tax cut to the people making under $250,000 a year. And we actually
hold on, let her finish.
And we actually ask people who buy $45 million to pay their fair share for once. When Dwight Eisenhower was president, the rich paid 91% taxes. When Reagan was president, they paid 50% taxes. When George Bush was president, they paid 35% taxes. Their costs have been going down like this while they are screwing the rest of us out of good schools, safe communities, all of the other services that we need. So this is a ridiculous debate.
Let me something that she brought up, Mark, and I think this is a very fair point that she's bringing up. She's talking about Mark Zandi at Moody's, his assessment of what works and what doesn't for the economy when it comes to tax cuts. Also, the CBO has come out and on several instances, maybe leaving cutting for the top 2% doesn't really work.
And
there are other
ways
to stimulate the economy. Okay, we won't attack the CBO just yet. Maybe later on in the show, Sandra. But Mark, I mean, she does bring a couple of valid points. There are other schools of thought out there about improving the economy and still taxing the top 2%.
Yeah, the CBO didn't say that it was non-stimulative. What they said was that they didn't think it was the most stimulative, which I agree with. The CBO has been wrong about a lot of things, for that matter, how much things are actually going to cost once they get instituted. But there's two schools of view here. One is that the pie can get bigger, that entrepreneurs working hard with capital put it to work. And Erica's right. Either entrepreneurs are either going to spend it or they're going to invest it. And where are they going to invest it? They're going to invest it in the stock market. And when they do that, that builds capital to grow companies. They might also buy treasury bills or treasury bonds, but they don't put it in their backyard and put it in a can. This is not a zero net sum game. In capitalism, everybody can win as the pie grows. If you're of the school that the pie never grows, then you want to redistribute the income. And I feel that progressives, with their idea that the pie never really grows, that's why they get so emotional about this issue. And I disagree. I think
people
the pie
should
grows.
get emotional about this issue. And let me tell you something, Mark. This issue is personal. When Bill Clinton was in office, he created 23 million jobs. When George Bush was in office, he created 3 million. And if you get rid of the 750,000 we kept on bleeding the first couple of months after he got out, zero net job growth. So you want to sit here and say that giving the $45 million Payne guy a tax cut is a good way to stimulate the economy? You have no idea what you are talking about.
I want to bring Mark. I'd like Mark to hold up that Lloyd Blankfein picture again because I just want to see it again, frankly, Mark. That was good stuff. I like that.
Let's take all his money.
Who else
Let's take all of Soros's money, and that'll fix the problem. Is that going to fix it? I don't think so. I don't think so.
But you bring up Blankfein.
Lloyd Blankfein should have made $67 million the year before he broke the economy,
Erica,
Mark?
I don't know if you can see Mark's camera right now. I'm not sure you can, but Lloyd Blankfein, who I know you're not a big fan of, you made very clear on the show. I mean, we're talking charitable contributions from the likes of Lloyd Blankfein and Goldman Sachs, the Warren Buffetts, the Bill Gates of the world.
That's like, thank you, Mr. Kidnapper, for the peanut butter sandwich you threw me. I mean, so what? He makes charitable contributions because the guy wants his name on a building because his ego isn't big enough to fit in any room he's in.
No, your logic, Erica, though, is that you're going against the capitalistic integrity of the United States.
That
because
is
what
not
you're doing
true.
is that you're killing people from wanting to get out of bed in the morning and work hard. Why
You really think that the
Hold
people
on.
on Wall Street worked really hard while they were out there wrecking the economy and costing us $13 trillion, and the net result of that is that states are cutting back teachers, they're cutting back policemen, they're cutting back firemen. And you think that it is appropriate that Lloyd Blankfein paid himself $67 million the year before he broke the economy and $9 million after we were forced to bail him out? Are you crazy?
Yeah. All right. Actually, I do need to give last word to Mark Mattson, who's been so respectful today and made posters and everything for the show. Mark, last word, sir.
Hey, I did like your posters, Mark.
I love Fox's new prosperity slogan, and I believe that's true. And I believe what's happening now is you're seeing a total rejection of the socialist high tax, high spend agenda. More will come, and we'll see what happens from here.
You two make Wednesdays probably the best day of the week for me, and I got to thank you both. Erica Payne, Mark Mattson. Thanks, guys. I love it. I can't wait till next week with you, too. All right. Well.